For our second activity, we used ChatGPT to answer these prompts. So we would put them in 3 times. So the first one I chose to do was provide 10 writing prompts for science for second graders. So the first one, it could be if you could be an animal for a day, what happens if the sun disappeared, how plants grow. So I regenerated it 3 times. It came up with different topics each time. Um, the second one came up with if you could invent a new animal, what would it look like? You go on, you have all 10 different props. Pretend you're an astronaut and you're in space. So the first one had different ones. They were all different. And then we have the third one, which came up with more, 10 more different prompts. So if you had a pet dinosaur, it would be your favorite weather, planets. So we have 10 more that are not the same as the first. Then we answered the next question. Can you create a student-centered lesson plan for first grade? I put in if they could do for art. So the first one that we came up with was an all about themselves, a collage. So we can see that it has the grade level, the subject, the time needed, the theme or the topic, how it even meets national standards. We can see there's learning objectives, the I can statements, materials we'd need, how to start the activity, the exploration, so showing a quick example. Students then get to create their own, and then we have time to share. So then we have an assessment, differentiation, so things that we would need to have out for them or even things that we could do to help them. So that was the first one. So we saw that the first one was an all about me collage. The second one that ChatGPT came up with was a colorful world. So this came up with same thing. It has a title, the lesson or the grade, time it would need, and then the idea or the concept that the students would be putting out in their work. So the objectives we have, this one has more standards, materials we'd need, the lesson procedure, the assessment, differentiations, and then the third one that we came up with. So the second one was my colorful world, and the third one that it came up with was my feelings in color. I thought that this was a really great one because students get to put on paper how they feel with a color. So again, grade level, lesson plan title, time needed, the focus area, the objectives, the standards. It even has an ISTE standard, materials, lesson plan procedures, assessment, adaptations for students who may need it. And then our third question was to create our own prompt for something we would use in our classroom. So I thought of fine motor skills for kindergartners. So we have a list of 10. Play-Doh, cutting practice, beading. This was the first one, so they came up with many different options for us. Another one was this one. So it came up with some of the same ideas as the first one. And then the last one was the same. So they all came up with the same ideas, maybe a couple that are a little bit different. Should I have added more details in the prompts? For the last one, I think that I most definitely should have added more details in the prompt so it would have came up with different activities. I also think that these first ones, I think that they came up with some really great ideas. Again, I think that this first one that we saw would be somewhat difficult for second graders to kind of grasp an idea about what would happen if the sun were to disappear. So I thought that the second choice was probably the best one. I mean, it creates activities and gives the students a new look into different things. Like if you could invent a new animal, what would it look like? Um, and for the second prompt that we had, I really thought that the third activity, so the feelings and color, I thought that that was the best one to children get to describe their own feelings and they get to put it on paper and show how they kind of feel according to a color or how they might see a color and point it towards a feeling. I thought that ChatGPT was really amazing just because it comes up with your answers so quickly and it provides you with detailed um, explanations just from looking at this lesson plan. I mean, we can see standards, we have an objective, we have a time, we can see the materials we may need, the lesson plan procedures, adaptations, assessments. I thought that ChatGPT did a really amazing job on showing us what children may need or how long it'll take. Um, and when I'm or if I were to use ChatGPT as a teacher or with students in the future classroom, I think that I would most definitely point this out to students and if I'm using something that may be a little harder. So if we go back, I mean, to this first prompt that we have, which would be how or what would happen if the sun were to disappear, I think that that would be a fine time for students to use ChatGPT. Or if I'm teaching a lesson and some children may not be understanding what we are learning about or getting a grasp of that information, I think that having them use ChatGPT just for another explanation and maybe some different ideas on how to do the topic might be a great use for it. As a teacher, I might use ChatGPT just to make sure lesson plans are doing okay, or even myself getting new explanations on how to make something. So children may have different ideas on how to learn about different topics.